So Apple has been having a terrible end of the year. There's the declining iPhone sales, the bans, the tariffs, the declining stock prices. It's ugly. And there's a lot of different ideas on what could steer them back on course, but there just seems to be one thing that I just haven't heard that often. So maybe you and I can talk about it. It's something that I thought of after a report came out this past week. So it's time for some tech news and some discussion right after this. Hey friend, this is Brandon from This Is Tech Today, your source for honest tech reviews, the news, and my views, and you're watching This Is Tech This Week, a weekly show in addition to my other content, where I go over tech news from this past week that personally interests me. If that's something that you're interested in, make sure to share, subscribe, and hit that bell icon if you haven't already to be notified of when I post a new video. That way you may or may not be entered into a giveaway for a free iPhone from Tim Cook.
iPhone. iPhone.
Everybody gets a
iPhone.
That's a joke, by the way. There's like no contest, so there's no like giveaway. Sorry if you didn't get that, but let's talk about some tech news. So it's been a few weeks since I've talked about the Galaxy S10 and some of the leaks that have come out, and this past week there is a ton of information that came out. So let's just go over all the things. First, we're hearing that it will launch on February 20th with pre-orders starting on March 8th. There are 3 different versions, and each one will have that Infinity O hole punch design that's in the corner. We've seen it on the Galaxy A8 phone that they unveiled recently. The versions will be a normal one that has a 6.1-inch screen with a 128GB to 512GB storage option, and that'll start at $1,000. Ouch. And then there's a 6.4-inch plus variant with 128GB storage options all the way up to a 1TB storage option. And that one looks like it'll cost $1,750. Ugh, no. It's like a rent payment or a mortgage payment, right? Like, what do you think? And then interestingly enough, a 5.8-inch flat screen variant that comes in 128GB. So there's no curved sides, it's just flat, and it looks like it'll cost about $850. And apparently the S10 will have the ability to wirelessly charge other phones like the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, which is kind of silly, but hopefully that means that there's a big fat battery inside too. And it'll have an in-display fingerprint reader kind of like the OnePlus 6T, except the difference is the OnePlus 6T, it has an optical fingerprint scanner. The Galaxy S10 will have an ultrasonic 3D fingerprint scanner. That means it'll be more accurate, but more forgiving in the right ways. Oftentimes, the OnePlus 6T will not unlock unless my finger is just placed just right. It'll have a standard wide and telephoto camera on the back and their new One UI on top of Android Pie. There's some really interesting changes that are coming to the Galaxy S10, but I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are on this flat display device, and especially the prices of all the models. It seems kind of ridiculously overpriced. Anyways, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and if you haven't already, join the This Is Tech Today community Discord server. There's some great people over there. They're super helpful and nice. It's really nice to find something like that amongst the tech community. There's a link in the description. Join us. So this past week, Google CEO Sundar Pichai went to Congress, and it was interesting to say the least. First, I really dislike politics, so I'm not here to get into a debate or discussion about a specific politician or party or anything like that, so make sure to keep it nice in the comments, okay? Anyways, it was filled with a ton of facepalm moments. We had one politician ask Sundar about his granddaughter's iPhone and why it was doing a certain thing. There's just an awkward exchange there where Sundar tried to express how difficult it is to answer that question, and then they had questions about biased search results on Google, and he tried to explain the complexities of the algorithm and how it doesn't specifically create bias, but receives information and data objectively and serves it based upon different factors related to relevancy. And even then, it's so hard to remove bias because bias in itself has so much nuance to it. There were definitely some cringy moments in there, but they did manage to ask some serious questions about Google's involvement in China. If you're not familiar, Google has something called Project Dragonfly that has rumored to be a version of Google in China that has filtered and modified results that pretty much goes along with requirements of the Chinese government. That means that Google could be used to provide propaganda rather than truth. Unfortunately, Sundar didn't really answer those questions well, and that kind of goes along with something that I said a couple weeks ago in regards to politicians or the government and technology. There are a lot of people that are in power that represent the people that don't really understand tech. And that's kind of a problem. But yeah, I really want to remind you that I really don't want this to become a discussion or debate regarding the red party or the blue party. But you know what's blue? This crazy deal from Bluehost. You see what I did there? Like, blue party, Bluehost. If you don't have a website right now, what are you doing? You need a website right now, and Bluehost is a great option. Bluehost is super easy to use, and the price is crazy cheap in comparison to the competitors. And you can open up your own website starting at $3.95 a month with a free domain, free SSL, and an easy WordPress installation. They also have 24/7 support and a 30-day money-back guarantee. $3.95 is a crazy good deal, but here's an even bigger deal. If you kind of add your subscription to the cart and you just wait a little bit, it'll give you a deal for $2.95, $3 a month. You could find that in like your couch or in a cup of coffee. But yeah, I've been looking around at web hosts and I found this crazy deal and I had to share it with you. So make sure you sign up for it. Don't delay anymore. Just go out there and make your website. There's a link down below in the description. If you do sign up through that link, I do receive some affiliate income and that does help support the channel. So if you do sign up, leave me a comment and let me know. So if you've been around for the past couple of months, you know I've been talking about Apple and all the crazy things that have happened to them. They've just been hit over and over and over again. And that's negatively affected the stock price quite a bit. Well, recently Ming-Chi Kuo, who is a highly respected leaker with a great track record, released a report stating that shipments for iPhones are projected to decrease by around 10% for the entire 2019 calendar year. And it would decline even more year over year. This is obviously not a good sign for the Apple stock, especially when you add in previous reports of the iPhone not selling well, and how Apple won't disclose iPhone sales anymore, and how Apple will have some iPhones banned in China. I've talked about many different reasons why iPhone sales are declining, but there's one thing that I really haven't talked about yet, and I don't really hear it all that often. But let's have a quick recap of the other reasons. First, the prices are too darn high. Apple keeps raising the prices of all their products, and then they remove different things that used to be included, like a headphone dongle. They don't even include a fast wireless charger, but you can go and buy it separately, but you also have to buy the cable on top of that. It seems really greedy, doesn't it? As a matter of fact, I was actually having lunch earlier today with some friends, and they said that they wouldn't be able to get an iPhone once they need to replace their current phone because it's just too expensive. In fact, they feel that if they bought the iPhone for its current price, they'd be getting ripped off. They're the average consumer. They probably don't look for the same things that you and I look for. Another thing that I've talked about is the quality of Apple's products. It's just really good, and unfortunately, because of that, a lot of people just aren't upgrading. And let's be honest, the advancements with the iPhone are not really that must-have thing anymore. It's just been kind of iterative, right? And I was at a family event yesterday, and the iPhones I did see were all iPhone 7 Pluses and below. There were some people there that were financially well off, but they didn't have the iPhone XS. They didn't even have an iPhone 10. And of course, some people don't like change, like the gestures, so that might be one of the reasons why they go with the iPhone 7 Plus or lower. At the end of the day, people just really aren't upgrading their phones. They don't need to. And some people really feel that Apple has lost its magic. There's no innovation or revolutionary design, especially after Steve passed away. You'd be surprised at how many comments that I've received on my videos from people who used the iPhone and then moved over to Android. So what were the main reasons? They felt that they were being ripped off and that was boring. But here's the one thing that I haven't talked about before, and the one thing that I think people don't really talk about enough. Simplicity. You see, their products are about simplicity, minimalism, if you will. In many ways, that has worked out well for them. In some ways, it has created a great deal of frustration, like the removal of the headphone jack. In many ways, Apple's product line used to be that way. It fell away from it a bit when Steve Jobs was fired in the mid-80s, and for the next few years following, Apple launched a ton of different products. There were cameras, speakers, PDAs, CD players, printers. There was just a ton of junk. And then Steve came back, and you know what he did when he came back? He kept the product line down. He focused their product offerings into the things he wanted to matter the most. And that's what Apple needs to do now. Right now, there are so many variants and products that it ends up being overwhelming for a lot of people. Think of it this way, you go to a restaurant, you're on a date, but not me because single life. Anyway, so say you go to a restaurant and there's like a bazillion things on the menu. It's like you're going to the Cheesecake Factory, that's not sponsored or anything, but you go there, and there's just so many options, and then you hear this from either your date or the other person you're with or yourself. I don't know what I want to eat. There's so many options on the menu, but yet you don't know what you want to eat? And that's probably because there's an overwhelming selection of things to eat. Now let's say you go to another restaurant that has only a few things to pick from and it's way easier to order. There's a restaurant out here called In-N-Out. It just has burgers, fries, shakes, and soda. It's simple. Apple needs to go that route again. Right now we have the iPhone XS Max, the XS, the XR, the iPhone 8, the iPhone 8 Plus, the iPhone 7, the iPhone 7 Plus. That's a crazy number of things for an average consumer to choose from, and don't even get me started on the iPad, especially when it comes to the name. You see, when Steve was around, things were a lot easier. We had the iPod. You just chose between a black or a white one, and then you chose your storage option, X, Y, or Z. It was simple, right? We cannot underestimate how fickle the average consumer is. They go into a store, they just need a replacement, and if they feel overwhelmed, you know what they're gonna do? They're just gonna follow what the salesperson offers to them, or they just leave. And with the prices the way that they are right now, I bet most people either leave or they pick up an iPhone 7 or 8 because it looks familiar. So yeah, what do you think about this whole idea that Apple needs to slim down their product line so it makes it easier for consumers to make a decision? I actually think that too much choice or options is really bad, but I'd love to know your thoughts, so go ahead and leave a comment down below, and remember to join that This Is Tech Today community Discord server. That's it. Make sure to check out my last video where I talk about how Apple has officially been dethroned by Microsoft in terms of market cap. The gap keeps widening and Apple keeps focusing on hardware instead of software and services. It looks pretty ugly. So make sure you share, subscribe, hit that bell icon if you haven't already. Thank you for watching This Is Tech Today. You just watched This Is Tech This Week. Until next time. Oh, and hey, have a great day.